state building.
Z100, New York.
It's Z100 and iHeartRadio. I'm Josh Martinez with my special guest at this time, rockin' dope hair. It is Oliver Tree.
What's poppin', my guy?
What's going on, bro? So first things first, hair's a little different than what we're used to seeing with our dude Turbo. What's the difference today on this hair right now?
Well, I've been using some experimental growth hormones, and I've been growing out my facial hair. See, a guy like me has never been able to grow facial hair, and I look at a guy like you with such a luscious beard, and I'm thinking, how the hell do I do it? So I've been taking vitamins, gummy vites. I've been taking this new cream that's a apply on type cream. And I've been trying my best to grow out something like what you have. So I'm working on it. I've been doing it for the last 2 months, and the results are pretty incredible.
Well, it looks good. And obviously the vitamins have changed the hair color as well. So that's a nice. That's
the thing. When you use, I've used 2 different ones, one for the face, one for the hair. And the one for the hair actually makes blonde. So it's not something that I have much control over, but it's helped my hair grow out at a very extremely fast rate.
But you're keeping the forehead, you're keeping the bangs, for lack of a better term, intact.
Well, this is the bullet. So it's the bowl cut mullet, and it's part of an evolution, really. I mean, there's only one way to go, and it's party all around. That's 360, baby.
And we're going to get that popping off soon. And you've been in the music game for several years now, almost a decade. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I've been working as a professional for my job 10 years, and no one gave a shit, man. This is really the beginning of anyone caring. So it's been pretty crazy to see the response off this new record.
So obviously the song that's popping off right now, Life Goes On. But like we said before, you had hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of followers across all the different social platforms. I first heard of you at a music festival in Cincinnati. I think you were on the bill, either 2019 or maybe it was a 2020 bill. And then it obviously things, COVID kind of messed things up. So if you're on a music festival, you pop it, right? And that was before, like I said, things kind of blew up for you a little bit. What would you say is the biggest difference between Oliver Tree, the artist, in 2021 and let's say 2016 Oliver Tree?
Well, I think before I started the Oliver Tree project, I had many iterations. So I was, in bands in middle school. I did, rap groups. I did DJing. I was a dubstep DJ. I played with Skrillex when I was 17 in high school. I had my project called Tree, which is like bedroom pop production. And that whole time, I always took myself so serious as an artist, and I really wanted the world to take my art serious, and no one cared. So I found that this is really about entertainment. And if you're not coming here as a showman and not coming here to entertain, forget about it. So that was where it really clicked. And I started to embrace the entertainment side. And obviously art and music is the centerpiece, but without the entertainment, no one's going to find it.
So what made you come up with the Turbo concept idea? I don't want to say gimmick, but you know what I'm trying to say, like just kind of that whole concept.
Gimmick. Of course it's a gimmick. Basically, I'll spell it out. I was going to do my first music video that would be on MTV about 5-6 years ago. And I was like, how do I stick out? You have all these people trying to sell sex, trying to look beautiful. And I said, I'm just going to make myself look as ugly as possible. How do I make the ugly Justin Bieber? You know what I mean? I wanted to stick out like a sore thumb because you remember that more than all these people trying to look good. So that was the start of it. I came to the shoot and I ended up wearing this outfit, which was the outfit we know of as this Turbo, pink jacket, big pants. And I show up with my buddy. He had just made this meme called the Sud Dudes, him and his other friend that lived together. And so they filmed these vines, and the vines all got 1 million plays in the first couple of days. And every vine I filmed with this character would get millions of plays, and my music wouldn't get millions of plays. It would barely get 100,000 plays if I was lucky. So I was like, what the hell is going on here? I don't even do this like stupid internet shit. How do I use this look and this character as a vehicle to get people to my music? How do I make this dude the lead singer in my band? So it was kind of out of necessity.
Are you growing up? Were you ever a fan of there's a reason for this question. Growing up, were you ever a fan of like pro wrestling and WWE and stuff like that?
Bro, I love wrestling. I actually in my live shows do WWF wrestling. So it's something that has inspired me a lot. Andy Kaufman was one of the world's greatest wrestlers, and he inspired me more than anybody.
Yeah, real talk. Andy Kaufman, I actually, when I ran radio stations, I would put the sound of a phone vibrating in pieces of imaging so that hopefully if you're paying attention, you think your phone goes off, you look at it, you don't think anything of it. There were so many times where I caught myself where I look at my phone and then I'll pull up the log and see if it was one of the many and I got that from Andy Kaufman, who was a marketing genius. And I'm so happy you mentioned Andy Kaufman, because I think in 2021 there were so many people that don't realize how much of a genius this guy was, and pushing the envelope and taking things to that next level. How do you plan on taking things to the next level? Whether it's, with turbo, without turbo, using the new vitamins that you got in your system running right now. Have you considered what 2022 and beyond looks like for you?
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm working on some screenplays. I'm making some movies. So I'm going to move from in front of the camera to behind the camera as a director and writer. Been working on producing these documentaries that I've been filming over the last 4 years. So I got 17 documentaries from traveling around the world. Just got back from the Middle East. We filmed a new one there. I lived in Russia for 4 months. This past summer, I filmed a documentary there. I've got tons and tons of different, I'm moving to long form. I'm moving away from music industry. This is going to be, my next album, Cowboy Tears, is going to be my last album I ever release. In a lot of ways, it's my first album, because Ugly is Beautiful was supposedly my first, but it was really a selected works, a bunch of music from over 5 years. And right now I'm moving to really put out my first concept album, my first album that's really cohesive. So Cowboy Tears, my country record. I mean, I went full country over COVID. So I'm going in, doing this thing with a bang, going full country mode. And, as far as taking influence from Kaufman, Sacha Baron Cohen, all these people, there's a world where that lives really in my documentaries. I'm kind of pushing the level of what is reality TV, what is a documentary, meshing this. I'm trying to make the next generation of really where reality TV is going next. So that's kind of where that space will go.
So putting together your documentary, and you mentioned like someone like Sacha Baron Cohen, who is notorious for kind of getting in some trouble. Did you find yourself getting in trouble in Russia?
Oh man, all the time. Russia, you got to be careful with those. The first day I got there, I was driving in the car in broad daylight. I watched someone punch someone else in the face. I was like, that's the most Russian thing I ever seen. But, the Russian people are incredible, very sweet. They treated me like a Russian prince, Russian royalty. But, you got to be careful what you say around there. So I definitely found myself, teetering the line at times. And I made an EP with these guys, Little Big, who are Russian pop stars. And we got into some fights for sure. I was running my mouth a little too much. And there was some physical altercations between us. But you got to be careful, in different places. You got to be extra sensitive.
What would you say is the most exciting part about filming a documentary that you are in complete control of?
Well, I would say, bending the lines of reality, showing people new parts of the world they never seen, and showing in a way that, let's just say, can come from my perspective and how I see things, and making a commentary and setting up a mirror of how ridiculous this world's gotten. And to tell you the truth, it's a crazy place we live in. So to set that mirror up and show people just how ridiculous it is, that's pretty exciting stuff. And there's a lot of room there as an artist to do very experimental things and, explore the next generation of performance art, because in a lot of ways feels like it's kind of pretty dead movement. But in the reality, a lot of these people who are online are incredible performance artists. People just don't know what's real and what's not.
So now when you say what's real and what's not, what is your mindset when you're going into the studio and you're doing Cowboy Tears, genre aside, it doesn't matter right now. When you're going into that album mode and you're like, you know what, I'm going to do from scratch. Everything I do now is going to be like, this is what the album's going to consist of. If you made 100 songs, 15, whatever.
I made 100 for this one.
100. Okay. Are all 100 going to be kind of on this huge playlist of Cowboy Tears?
I got an album. I got this album, Cowboy Tears. It'll be, 13 songs, somewhere in that ballpark. But I might have some other releases that come around that we'll see. We don't really know. But I will say some of it will come out. Hopefully a third of that 100 will come out at least. If I could get out 30, 35 tracks, that would be ideal. But I made a lot of music, and most of it will never see daylight. I've made thousands of songs. So I've got.
Well, I was going to say, you just mentioned before, and I think it's actually really interesting that you said this is your first real album, because the other one was kind of a best of the last 4 years compiled into this album. And I know I brought back to 2016. What has been the biggest, I guess, awakening for you when signing with a label or being more mainstream now? Like I said, these songs have blown up. I mean, just looking at your YouTube, it's like over 1 million views easily on anything you put out over the last year. Whereas, 5 years ago, you're not getting those views, right? What has been the biggest awakening of like, oh shit, this is different. This is a different level of fame or a different tax bracket?
Well, let's just say the taxes are way, way higher. The label, it's a headache. It's a little mosquito in my ear, if you will. I'm fighting these guys off left and right. I mean, there's a lot of scum in this industry, and I love my label, but I hate my label, if that makes any sense. I got my lawyer kind of watching over Jeremiah Jeffrey, my main guy. He doesn't really let me speak too much about this, but I will say, checks are bouncing. I'm seeing, a lot of lies, a lot of, there's a lot of promises that are empty. So you got to watch out with the industry. These people eat you alive. It's like some vampires. They'll nibble away. They'll drain you dry, bro.
I'll just say, I think that's entertainment. I don't think that's kind of just stuck on music. I think if you speak to, and you're on, you're in front of the camera, behind the camera with screenwriting. I'm sure you've seen this with actors that you've come across. I mean, that's the highs are high, the lows are low. And at the end of the day, it's business is business, right? So you kind of sometimes throw your hands up and go, okay, lesson learned, moved on to the next thing, positive or negative, because there's some positive lessons you learn as well. And from positive experiences and move forward. Now, the big song right now, Life Goes On. Has there been a moment so far where you realize, oh shit, this song really is going to a different level?
Right. Well, I mean, I don't use social media. I don't have any apps or anything on my phone. So I'm kind of off the grid, but the label kept reaching out to me. Hey, it's going viral on TikTok. They kept sending me the same messages over and over every day. I was in the Middle East. I was in Morocco at the time this was happening. And I was like, I don't believe it. And then they showed me that there's been 10 million videos on TikTok between the three main sounds. The video has over 100 million plays. So like, just seeing, a video that I directed and wrote, and it's probably my worst music video. I mean, my fans hate it. And the thing is that it's like, really, I've entered the pop space with a song like that. It's not really alternative music. It's pretty straightforward pop, but that song's 7 years old. It's never supposed to see daylight, but luckily it finally came out with the deluxe, and it's cool to finally see what can happen when you make something a little bit more accessible. And I'll say that with quotations.
Now, you mentioned that you did the video. What was the concept behind the video? Because I've seen it several times, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around what I'm watching in that video, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, showing there's really, everyone is this character, but there was one real guy who has his glasses down, you can see, and that one is me. So I think, making this character something that is everyone in a way, we're all this character, whatever, it's just a perspective of where things are. This character is everyone. It's not me. This is just something that's a reflection of the times we're in. And so kind of exploring that and exploring death at the end, these fans come after him and pull him off in a way and end his life, and life goes on with or without you, the original.
I was going to say, I found it interesting, the ending where you're just kind of getting picked up, taken off, people are crying, but no one's following the body, if that makes any sense. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but to me, I kind of took that as like a mindset of like, it's almost like in Austin Powers 2, Dr. Evil talks about like mini-me dying, right? Yeah. And it's like, I'd be completely inconsolable for 10 minutes and then probably make a replica. Life goes on. And I don't know if that was kind of the point or not, but I saw it that way. And
well, I love you mentioned Austin Powers, because that's a big inspiration for me. When I was growing up, I was Austin Powers for Halloween. He's shaped my, entire existence, really. And I would say, the thing in the Western culture is we don't really know how to talk about death. So we pretty much ignore it the whole time. And then the second someone dies, we grieve, we go to the funeral, and then we go back to work the next day. And it's as if it never even happened in a lot of ways. So I think it's a statement on that for sure. I think you're on to that, right on the money.
So you mentioned Austin Powers, which means I'm sure by default you're a fan of Mike Myers.
Yes,
who are you a fan of from the kind of acting, comedic side of things that have inspired who Oliver Tree is today?
I would say you've got Eric Andre, which taught me you don't have to necessarily feel good things to have it be good art, because art makes you feel something. It could be an emotion that's really positive. It could be a really negative emotion. It could make you angry. It could make you feel sick to your stomach, like Eric Andre can do sometimes. But he showed me that it's about making people feel something. And I think good art is polarizing. It doesn't always have to make you feel good. And I think that even a negative response is still a good response sometimes, because you're making people feel something. And when it's an intentional thing, and I made a character that people could love or hate, either way, it's effective, because I've made them either love it or hate it. And that's something that it's hard to get anyone to feel anything in this, modern era where everyone's so numb from social media. So that's a big influence. Nathan Fielder, the way he's able to kind of play with the world. Nathan Fielder's a big influence. Sacha Baron Cohen, obviously. Uh, Andy Kaufman's #1, always probably the most misunderstood genius of our time. And someone like Kanye West, who's really the greatest performance artist of our generation, if you ask me.
I always said that Kanye, I will defend him to the death from a music standpoint. I think the guy is a actual legitimate genius. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, like you mentioned before with social media, things get overshadowed by this headline, and this headline, which will overshadow all the body of work that he just did on this most recent album or this new single or, this new album he produced or whatever. And you mentioned social media a couple times. I'm just interested to see, like, you saying that you don't have social media on your phone, let's say. Obviously there's accounts for you and such. How do you stay in touch with what's kind of going on and what's hip and now? Is it friends?
You don't have to. That's the thing that is the misconception. People think you got to be doing the trends, whatever. For me, it's about creating the trends, creating your own lane with it. So it's like, for example, all the TikToks that have gotten my TikTok account to like almost 12 million followers, that's all old videos from the last 5 years ago, videos from Vine even, that I'm just reposting with the song in it. I don't have to do social media. I don't have to be on it to be on it, if that makes any sense. So like for me, it's about making my own thing. When I don't make content. I don't make TikToks. I go and I film my documentary, and whatever I like out of that, that can be something that we can use for it. But I don't go and film a TikTok, and I'm technically a really big TikToker, but I would never say I'm a TikToker. You know what I mean? So for me, like same with music, like I don't pay attention to what's happening. I don't listen to music. I only listen to my new shit that I'm working on that isn't out yet. All the old shit, that's doo-doo. I don't listen to any of that. I'm only listening to Cowboy Tears right now because that music's made for me. It's exactly what I want to hear. So why the hell would I need to listen to other music? I don't want to be influenced by that. I want to do what I want to do that sounds good to me, because I want to make something that's timeless. And even though that's a big statement to make and nothing will ever be truly timeless, I want to make something that can connect with people in 10 years, in 100 years. Life Goes On, 7 years old. It finally comes out now, and it's literally meant for people, now and in 10 years, really. It's ahead of the audience. Good art is always going to be a bit ahead of the audience. A good artist is always going to be 5 to 10 years ahead of the audience.
And I love that, because I'm a firm believer that, like, what makes music great is that you could discover something from 40, 50 years ago and fall in love with it. Like, I always bring up, like, me personally, like Leonard Skinner. I just recently discovered him over the last 3 or 4 years. And I was just like, yo, they got some dope ass music, like real deep stuff. Same thing with like Billy Joel. Now I grew up just on hip hop and Spanish music. Now all of a sudden I'm getting older. I'm introduced to like someone like Billy Joel, and I'm like, yo, he's got some dope ass music. And to think that in 20 years, someone will come across your stuff and be like, yo, this is such a dope ass song, especially now with how we're consuming music. Have you felt yourself changing your style or changing the way you approach music based on how people are consuming music nowadays?
Well, the thing that's hard to say is that, like, you can't really predict where it's going next. You can only do what feels good in your soul. So, like, for example, albums that I release can take up to 5 years to come out. That's what happened with Ugly is Beautiful. So by the time I was, thinking this is going to be the thing that works, TikTok may even be no longer by the time Cowboy Tears come out. It could come out in a year. It could come out in 10 years for all I know. It could be the last magnum opus I ever create. But to tell you the truth, ignorance is bliss with all this stuff. That's why I only watch movies. That's my influence. I don't listen to music. I don't really know how we consume music because I'm not on Spotify. I don't listen to Spotify. I may have an account there and it may have, 25 million monthly listeners, but I don't know that. Like, I only know that because my label is sending me stuff saying, hey, look at this. You got to keep doing this to promote the song, whatever, some bullshit. But I'll say this. I don't have iTunes. I don't have any kind of playlist of music on there. I don't have Apple Music. I don't have a Spotify account. I don't listen. I don't consume. And I think that's, if I was consuming, I would probably change my perspective and I'd probably be more of a pop artist. But the thing is, I do this for me. I make this music that I want to hear. And I know that there are people like me. There's hundreds of millions of people who are just like me, even though they live a very different life and have different experiences. To be a human, we deal with only so many emotions. We deal with only so many things. Pretty much all 8 billion people are not that far apart. We all eat. We all have sex. We all go to the bathroom taking a dookie. Like, this is all a very similar experience. We feel happy. We feel sad. We feel heartbroken. We feel angry. All these things are just, different levels of emotions that we all experience. So it's not that complicated,
And before we wrap this up, I love to talk about mental health awareness and stuff with artists. And you just mentioned all these different feelings that everybody basically feels. What do you do to kind of center yourself? If you've had a rough week or two, is there something specifically you do, someone you specifically reach out to just to bring yourself back to center?
Well, I would say one thing is having good friends that you can talk to. I don't go to therapy, and I think that my art is my therapy. I put everything into my art so that I can put my feelings, my sadness, my happiness, my accomplishments, and my complete failures into my art. But not everyone has that, you know? So for me, another therapy that I do is just talking with my friends and being able to have someone you can talk to, someone you could trust, you know, and that they're going to be able to just be there to listen to you talk, and you're going to be there to listen to them talk. It goes two ways. It's a two-way street. But other thing is staying off social media. Like, that shit is ugly and nasty. And especially when you reach a certain point, once you get into a level where it's reaching people that don't want to see it, and it's just being brought to the mainstream on some levels, whatever you want to call it, I mean, you're going to experience so much hate. We saw with Billie Eilish, like, she didn't even do anything. She was like the sweetest person, and people just destroyed her for whatever angle they could. So it's like, that's not healthy to see. If you're looking at that all day, you're never going to make more art. You're never going to make more stuff. So for me, I'll lock myself in a hotel room. I'll work on a screenplay for 9 days, and I'll make my stuff. Because if I'm there reading what everyone's saying, I'll never make more stuff. I'll be so caught up in that, and I'll think, oh, I think this, I think that. But really, no one knows the real me. They never experienced having a conversation with me. Even you and me, this right now, this is a deep level exchange, but it's not you and me sitting together on the couch talking. You know what I mean? It's surface level stuff. Even if we are going deeper on some levels, you don't know the real me. I don't know the real you. I don't know if that beard's fake, bro. I have no idea. But what I will say is, don't take it to heart. No one even knows you. They just think they know you. And the thing is that I share a window into my soul through my music. All the other shit is just bullshit entertainment. Love it or hate it. I'm just trolling and being able to promote my art that no one gave a fuck about. So that's what it really comes down to.
So what can we expect from you in 2022?
Hopefully I'll be filming my first feature film. Hopefully I'll have some more. I put out a comic book this year, 120-page graphic novel. Hopefully I'll have some more of those. I'm helping produce my buddy, Little Ricky. This is 9-foot-tall alien, badass dude. I'm helping produce his mixtape that's pretty much done right now. We're in the process of starting to try to release that. He's working on a band. I told him, don't do the band. Go solo. It worked out for me. He says, no, this solo stuff ain't for him. He's trying to do a band. So probably have my hand in helping produce some of his stuff if he lets me still when it gets out of that next level. But he's the first artist I signed. So taking on some artists, working on movies. Hopefully some of these 17 documentaries will be out by then. Like, some of the stuff I've been literally editing for 4 years. And it's like back burner stuff, but I'm still working on drafts, still cleaning it up. So I got a lot of things in the pipeline. I got a lot of pipe dreams, if you will, but I'm just creating every second I can, and I'll be making stuff till I die.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you one more time. Oliver Tree, Life Goes On is the single. It's the crazy ass video. And everything is out there all over the music apps and streaming and social media accounts at Oliver Tree. Very simple to find you. And I'll do that on your behalf, since, you know, you probably may not know what half the stuff is. So I got you.
Straight up, bro. Thank you so much. You're a legend. I love the beard. I love the ideas. You're really on some shit, bro.
Appreciate you, man.
From the top of the Empire State Building.